We're live here at Dance Out Loud.
Yes.
Yeah, Dance Out Loud production studio with Miss Jasmine Shramm.
Nailed it.
One of the most eclectic people, eccentric people I've ever met in my life.
It definitely keeps me interested in my job and young at heart, being in this environment with kids all the time.
Yeah, well, so you primarily work with youths. Tell us more tell us more about who you are, your background, and where did you come up with the name Dance Out Loud? Why not dance quietly?
Well, I mean, why live quietly? Why not live out loud? So that was kind of the inception of it. I was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. When I was a preteen, my mom started teaching part-time at a dance studio in Council Bluffs, and I was a tomboy. I was absolutely not sold on the idea of dance at all, no tutus for Jasmine. And I tried one class at around 11 and was just hooked. I loved the feeling of being on stage and being empowered. She bought that studio when I was 12. It was called Dance Out Loud.
Wow.
And it was open for about 3 years. My family went through some really hard times, a divorce, and we lost the studio. So Dance Out Loud Productions is kind of like us rising from the ashes, a phoenix, if you will. So we opened in July of 2016, so we're coming up on 8 years, season 8, DOLP, love it.
8 years, clap it up.
And I feel like we only get stronger every season. Yes.
Wow, wow. Tell us more about the process that you experienced. You know, when you started out as a youth in this profession, I know dance isn't easy, and maybe you can even elaborate on what type of or what style of dance that you started practicing early on and how you took your skills to a higher level.
Okay, I graduated college in December of 2016, but I was coming up on my graduation, and I have a degree in entrepreneurship, and I wasn't really sure what that meant for me or where I knew I couldn't be behind a desk for 8 hours a day. That's just not the life for Jasmine. And I was teaching part-time at the studio that was in this space before us, and she had to close, and it was just like the stars aligned. So we purchased from her and rebranded and started from scratch, essentially. We are a boutique studio, meaning I want to train athletes and artists that want a future in dance. And that doesn't mean necessarily like being in a music video. That could be teaching, that could be doing choreography, or just inspiring them to be passionate about something for their entire lives. I teach a lot of our contemporary tumbling, tap classes, and then I hire instructors that specialize in their styles. So I don't just have like one person teaching 6 different things. Our niche is that every instructor is hyper-focused in their thing.
Wow. What type of traits does someone need to be successful as a coach or even as a practitioner in this profession? Because I know I watch you all the time. We go to the gym.
Yes.
You have an incredible level of discipline.
Thank you.
Consistency, and you know, the line of work that you're in, there's challenges that you experience along the way, and having the ability to be resilient and overcome those experiences, that's how you grow. What are some of your perspectives on the traits a person needs to grow in this industry, maybe as an entrepreneur and as someone who just comes in and wants to become a better dancer?
You know, I think the truth for any athlete is that you have to have some degree of a thick skin, especially when we're looking in a mirror 90% of the time and trying to dissect what's wrong or right with our body lines. It requires a lot of vulnerability as well as that thick skin. So it's like this perfect complement, I would say. And I do owe my sense of discipline and passion for working out to dance, just that constant grind or want to be better. I would say that's a very important part of it, discipline in itself. I also think that one thing that I hope every student leaves this building with is a comfort in their own skin. I did not have much of a voice as a young person. I didn't really know who Jasmine was. And I think that if I can inspire just one person to walk out of here and go, well, I don't fit nicely in that box or that box, but somewhere in between those two boxes is me, that's really all I can hope for.
That's amazing. How much of your practice is skill in comparison to physical training? Because I see you doing both at the gym. You work hard. You have an incredible physical regimen. However, you're also combining lots of skill-specific drills that require you move your body.
Yes, or the average person going to the gym and lifting would look at and be like,
Yeah.
she's doing that all wrong. There is a purpose behind some of the craziness that someone at the gym might witness me doing. But I don't know. I think I try to regularly do cardio, but I'm teaching a lot. So the cardio part of it, I'm just maintaining because of my work schedule. But I am always adjusting exercises like RDLs, for example, to fit more of my technical execution in the studio than just a clean form in the gym.
Amazing. What is some of your philosophies or words of advice for someone who they might not be an athlete? I know most of I saw the two young ladies in the other room, phenomenal character and presentation. Just this facility is great.
Thank you so much.
Someone who comes in, any age, maybe they're not an athlete, but they're someone who has a passion for dance or learning the art of dance that you provide here. What type of conversation are you having with them initially before they get started?
That's actually our focus as a studio. I think that a lot, I don't know if this is region specific, but I think that a lot of studios are really focused on how do we get that first place trophy. And that's important for me to market and draw in new customers. But our thing is, I don't care what your physical ability is. I don't care what your experience level is. If you want to push, I'm going to help you find the right path. So it's just kind of talking about each individual's goals, what they want to do with dance right now, if they want to have a future in it, and what that means for each individual. Because there are athletes that are winning all the time and they want to have a career in dance, and I want to help them find that path. But there are other athletes that maybe want to dance for fun through college with their arts program, but don't necessarily want to be a competitive athlete forever. And I want to help them find that path as well. So really it's just about conversating and going, what are your hopes, dreams, and goals, and how can I help you find them? And also the idea that I'm not the best fit for everyone was really important when we started the journey. I wanted to be everything to everyone all the time, and I realized that I wasn't making anyone happy, including myself, trying to do all of the things.
Well, how do you define winning? Is it always about coming in first place with your in a competition, or is there another lesson that you're trying to teach to your students that's a lot more significant than winning a medal or a first place trophy? Like how do you personally define winning and success?
I would say this is hard because my definition of what success looks like isn't necessarily what a parent on the outside of the dance world would say success is. It's really easy.
What would they say?
First, those teams, those larger teams that have a ton of kids that are winning a lot of the time, that looks like a successful studio, but sometimes these kids are really good at doing the routine that they rehearse for 3 hours every week, but they're not really good at the critical thinking or processing movement outside of that over-rehearsed movement. So for me, it's not always about the first place. In fact, with some of my really strong athletes, I kind of like when they go to competition and they end up in third, because it brings them back to the studio on fire, ready to work again, and not just get kind of handed that easy win, so to speak. So for me, success looks like the girl that I started with 5 years ago that wouldn't look up off the ground while she was on stage. What does she look like nowadays? When she graduates high school, will she look you in the eye? And she will. Tell you what, she will. And I think that is far more, like I said, I didn't have a voice when I started dancing. I was scared of literally the wind blowing, and to be able to even sit here and talk to you about what our vision is and what our goals, that's not something that 11-year-old Jasmine would feel comfortable with. But today I do. And again, I think that I've got some strong athletes, and I've got some athletes that weren't always strong. And today they will walk out and be a dancer forever in their hearts, in their souls. When they talk to you, they're going to be present with you. That's success. Changing the course of a young person's life, be it as an artist or an athlete, that's a win.
Wow, changing the course of someone's life. And I appreciate how people can come here and learn skills that facilitate more confidence in their life, with public speaking or performing in front of small groups or large groups of people it's probably the greatest fear that most human beings express.
I always tell the kids, excuse me, if you can go out on stage alone for 2 minutes, every assignment that you have for the rest of your life is going to feel like cake. Interviews are going to be easy peasy, but it's time and trusting the process. That's what it takes.
Tell us about your first experience on stage. How did you prepare? And yeah, there we go. How did you feel your first time being on stage, and how many people were there?
There were probably 500 or so people.
That's a big. And what age?
I was 11, fresh
11 years old.
And it was a duet with my mom.
Wow.
Yes. So I felt very comfortable because I was with her. I also maybe was too young to know that I should be scared or afraid of what was happening. I think that the first time I got on stage, my eyes opened. I realized that I had something to say, even if I lacked the words to share them. My eyes, my body, my understanding of music. It's just another great way to communicate. So it lit a fire for me. Even through the hard times in my youth, I've always come back to dance.
What's the most beautiful aspect about your profession? And also, what's the grittiest and grimiest aspect of your profession? You can start with either one.
Well, my sense of humor wants to tell you that the grimiest part of it is dealing with 14 to 18-year-old girls and the obstacles that sometimes can provide.
Yeah, I have a 15-year-old daughter going on 15, and a son who's going on 14. So I can understand that age group. So many emotions that they're learning how to
they have no idea
navigate.
what their bodies are going through. Yeah, they're still tough. Figuring it out.
That's why they need great coaches like you and your mom and other people like us, in the community to help them navigate through those skills so they can catch more success in life. But tell us about the challenges being a practitioner, like the work that goes into it, because you're going to fail more than you succeed.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's where the growth manifests.
I would say that the most beautiful part of this job and the grimiest part of this job are overlapping. And that is that I had a lot of adults in my youth that took the time for me and looked out for me when they didn't have to. And I feel very blessed to be able to reciprocate and pay that forward and now be there for other people's kids and be a part of other people's villages. So that is beautiful, but the grimy part of it is, as a coach, sometimes I do have to look at a young person and go, your work ethic is not enough. You want this, but that requires way more than you want to give it, or to say what you're doing needs more. Looking at a young person and saying that sometimes can be a little soul crushing for them. So the hardest part, I would say, is making sure that they know they are loved and valued regardless of any mistakes they might make, or I got to be able to give feedback without causing other people to shut down. So that can be a big obstacle.
Oh, wow. That's like building any aspect of your fitness, whether it's to improve your deadlift or your bench press, get a spin, move, and dance. Initially, you need to understand what types of habits and behaviors you need to adopt that help you reach the goal. And then there's questions you need to ask yourself. Am I ready? Am I willing? Am I able? Because some people, they're able, but they're just not ready or willing to do what's required, or vice versa.
The goal is in sight, but you don't always necessarily want to climb the mountain to get to the top of it. Yes.
How do you get someone to lock in? When you see someone who has all the potential, they're able, they're ready, but they're not willing to put in the work yet. How do you get that person to lock in on the process?
That's a delicate balance for sure. And I think that it takes getting to know each individual athlete. So for some kids, they want you to throw a routine at them that makes them go, oh no, so that they have to put in work. And for other kids, the idea of getting a routine that is above them is going to cause them to shut down, like I mentioned. So it's about figuring out where each individual is at and going, how much can I push you without making you feel like the goal is impossible? I think that's a huge part of it.
What's your most significant accomplishment here? This amazing facility program, wonderful. But in terms of accomplishments, what's your most significant? Which one do you appreciate the most?
As a business or as an individual?
Well, let's talk about both, as a business and individual.
As an individual, I would say that I no longer feel like an imposter.
As an individual,
Yes.
no more imposter syndrome.
When we started, I didn't think that I was qualified. I didn't think, be it because of my late blooming as a dancer or my lack of teaching experience, I didn't feel like I belonged. And now I trust my art, I trust my vision, and I trust my process. And I'm very grateful for that as an individual.
Trust the art, trust the vision, trust the process. That's an important concept that we all should adopt, regardless of what we're pursuing in our life.
Yes, absolutely.
What's your message to a person in general who is going through that initial stepping stone of adopting new health habits? What advice would you give them?
Commit. Be it for 30 days, 3 days, whatever it is. If you have a goal and you know what steps you need to take to get to that goal, you have to just commit. And motivation is great in the beginning, but it doesn't last. At the end of the day, discipline and diligence, they will persevere. And I think that anyone can do whatever they set their mind to as long as they're willing to commit on the days they don't want to commit.
Discipline. What did Mike Tyson say? Doing what you hate like you love it.
And that's why Jasmine started running. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. I see you do a significant amount of flexibility, mobility drill. What's the most important physical skill that a person should work on when they get started with the exercise program? When they start accelerating their health practices, what do you, from your point of view, what should they work on?
I would say for normal people, pay more attention to your range of motion in those smaller joints. So your wrists, your ankles, your shoulders. Like we are always talking about, oh, my quads are tight. Oh, I need to work on my hamstring flexibility. But a lot of times when you're doing just basic lifting, what you can do with your wrist or the strength your wrist has, it matters a lot. So I would say pay attention to those little things that you don't normally have to think about. And then for dancers who have a lot of hypermobility, it's kind of the opposite.
Ooh, shoulder, yeah. Being able to stabilize in different positions. What's one exercise a person can do? Because that's one of the most injured areas.
Shoulders?
Yeah, one of them, right? Because it's a ball and socket. You know, you're doing all these movements, and then if you have a hard time stabilizing a position, you might, you could dislocate or tear. Experience a minor tear in the rotator cuff area. What's something you do every day that us mere mortals could do?
I have very flexible shoulders, and one thing that I have started doing is like with the kettlebell and making sure that it's upside down.
Do you have a kettlebell here?
That's like the one thing I do not have, but my shoulders are strong enough that
visualize a kettlebell.
Yes, upside down.
Yeah, upside down. So the
and then
thick
just
part
kind of
upside,
like pushing it all the way up.
Oh,
and pulling it all the way down and trying to make sure that it's not wobbly. And I feel like this has done wonders for my back and shoulder pain. I used to have a tendency to be very slouched in here.
Keep shoulder external rotated, and then we're pushing all the way up.
Yes, and then pulling all the way down.
And pulling all the way down.
And then on top of that, I know that resistance bands get a bad rep for building muscle, but as far as preventing injury goes, I can't recommend a better tool. Resistance bands are just going to really teach you. So I will grab like a loop or any kind of resistance band and pull around and trying to keep my arm straight. That's another really good one.
I like to use those a lot. Yeah, you're such a wealth of knowledge.
Always learning, always growing.
I love that. Always learn, always grow. Trust the process. Have discipline.
I feel the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know, and the more I have left to learn. So the other thing I would recommend to anyone setting any new fitness-related goal is just stay open-minded and remember you are always a student.
Openness. And you're always a student. Like my sensei, when I was taking jiu-jitsu, always say, be a white belt. Do the basic, boring activities on a high level. That's how you catch a long-term
have some reverence
success.
For them fundamentals. Absolutely.
Yes. Doesn't matter if you're, an elite athlete or someone who's just getting started with dance or weightlifting, or, basketball, a basketball program.
Yes.
Get get good at mastering the fundamentals.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
And I always try to tell new customers, it's never too early to get your child passionate about being active, to be cool with sweating a little bit, or to see something that seems physically impossible and go, I can't do it today, but I can get it with time. And just instilling that mindset of you don't have to be able to snap your fingers and do something. You just have to be willing to work.
Before we end this podcast, what's your philosophy on hard work and recover? Like, how do you balance those two activities? How do you know when you're working too hard or you're not working hard enough?
Listen, dancers are terrible about this historically, generally speaking.
Humans in general.
Yes, we will just grind our bodies into the ground. And so I have had to lead by example.
Lead by example. As a practitioner, coach, you need to, number one, lead yourself, set the example for your students. I like that.
And it's, again, being a forever student. When I started working out about 6 years ago, I was a cardio queen. That's all I did. I did not care about lifting or anything like that. And eventually my body said, no more. And I had to go, okay, what's going wrong here? And actually take a rest day. Actually feed my body the way it needs to be fed. Because I get so caught up in work, I forget to eat sometimes. And then the next
Food,
day,
yes, that's good.
Or drinking water. Or the next day I will feel terrible and go, why do I feel like this? Well, Jasmine, you didn't eat enough. So just like being on top of my own thing and going, no, guys, I need to drink this protein shake while I'm teaching you, or I'm gonna regret it. Or no, I didn't go to the gym today, kids. My body couldn't do it. That's okay. I'll go tomorrow. And just reminding them that I'm taking rest days, so they should take rest days.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I always like to finish with a quote. I saw that one on your wall. It says you have to choose between the pain of discipline or the pain of regret.
Yes.
That's amazing. Don't regret the work that goes into improving your mind and your physical body. Take one step. You look at health and fitness, it's like a marathon that blesses you with each step you take.
Yes, and there is no finish line.
There is no finish line.
You got to love the process. You cannot just love the destination. Yes.
So good. One more quote or word of philosophy of wisdom you could give our viewers before we conclude this incredible podcast today?
Well, I will start by saying the reward of any journey isn't the destination. It is the journey itself. And regardless of if that is a national title or if it is just artistic development, they are equitably valuable pursuits, and you would never live quietly. So you must also dance out loud.
I love that. Don't dance here or outside. Anywhere. Quietly.
Do it out loud.
Dance out loud. I love that concept. Let's clap it up for Miss Jasmine Shramm.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.
Lovely.
Yes, it's been incredible. You guys are amazing. Take these words of wisdom. Make sure you like this video, you share this video, and you subscribe to our TC Lifestyle Fit YouTube channel. In the meantime, we're going to flex those muscles and take action on living life with no regret.
And don't forget to stretch.
Don't forget to stretch. Be flexible in life and with your fitness. All right. See you all soon. Peace out.